corn harvest in Lancaster County is winding down. Corn, chopped for unsiling, has filled silos, bunkers, and bags over a month ago. The corn remaining in the fields has faded to brown from its earlier vibrant green, and the grain has dried down to an appropriate moisture level. So now it can be harvested and ensiled itself. The kernels in the fields being harvested here are averaging 25% moisture level from numerous sample readings that have been taken. At this level, the corn is called high moisture. Corn that is to be stored on the cob in cribs or shelled and stored in bins needs to remain in the field until a moisture level of about 15% is reached. With a moisture level of 25%, corn can ferment properly when stored in a silo or bag under the right conditions. The corn being harvested in this video will be processed into earlage. The entire cob will be sent through a hammer mill, sprayed with an inoculant, and compressed into a silage bag for fermentation. The kernel, or the grain, provides the bulk of the nutrition, proteins, minerals, and vitamins, while the cob provides roughage needed by ruminating animals. The cob is used as a hay stretcher on the farm. It can be substituted on a pound-for-pound basis for a medium quality hay, up to about 60% of the daily roughage required by a lactating cow. The bulk of the feed needed on this dairy farm, with the exception of a lactating cow supplement and a little bit of molasses, is grown entirely on the farm. Each day, over 5,000 pounds of feed are mixed for the milking cows. Each cow being milked will receive approximately 100 pounds of feed. The feed, mixed proportionally to a recipe created by a dairy nutritionist, consists of roasted soybeans, earlage, being made in this video, haylage, mostly rye and some alfalfa, corn silage, molasses, and the supplement. This video will take you from the harvest in the field to the hammer mill and then to the ensiling or silage bag process. I will explain what you are seeing periodically as the video progresses, especially the milling and bagging process. We hope you enjoy the video. This video here, from filming to editing to uploading, took almost 25 hours to complete. With your help, I can continue to produce these videos that you enjoy. Please consider hitting the like button, commenting, subscribing if you already have it, and sharing with your friends and family. That's all I ask. The videos are free to you, and with just a few seconds of your time, you can allow me to continue producing them. Thank you so much. I hope you really enjoy this video. Once the gravity wagons are filled with the ear corn, they are brought back down here to the barnyard. Here, the tractor is powering the hammer mill bagger. We'll take a closer look at that in a few minutes. You can see the ears of corn being fed into the auger. That auger will take them up into the hammer mill. Here's an overhead view of the operation. Here you're looking straight down to where the cobs of corn are being fed into the hammer mill. They're augered up that chute and dropped in. Here's a close-up. The cobs and the kernels, everything's being fed right into the mill. I have the volume here turned down quite a bit. There are three very noisy operations going on here. You have the hammer mill, which is very loud in itself, the blower blowing the final product into the bag, and the tractor's noise, and that engine's running pretty much full throttle. You really need hearing protection. Every one of these people here that you see working near it has their hearing protection. That was just a quick view of what's happening back at the barnyard. When we come back, I'll go into more depth of how everything really works. But for now, let's go watch some more harvesting back up in the field. There are very few of the Amish farmers in this area that own all the equipment that they need. One farmer might own a few pieces, another farmer might own a couple other pieces, and they're rented and shared among the community right around the neighborhood. It takes quite a bit of planning among the farmers when it comes to planting and harvesting their crops. The residue you see being left behind here, the stalks, the leaves, the husk of the corn, that all will be flail mowed later, raked into windrows and baled. It makes great bedding for animals. Here the farmer is waiting for the last of the cob to be processed through the machine. He'll leave this wagon here and hook to another one. The full wagon will be brought back down to the barnyard, and he'll hook up onto an empty wagon like you see here. You're seeing the mules here and the horses pulling up a gradual slope. He really doesn't want to have to stop those animals when they're pulling uphill like this. Starting is the most difficult thing for the animals to do. So if he can keep the steady rate going without that machine breaking down or clogging, it's great. Contrary to what some believe, these animals are not worked to exhaustion, or are they abused. Just from an economic perspective, neither of those make sense. A well-trained draft mule can cost upwards of $10,000 to $15,000 or more, and a good Belgian draft horse much more than that. So it wouldn't make much sense to work these animals to death when you got to turn around and spend $15,000 to $20,000 to replace one of them. And also, contrary to what some believe, they're not working from sun up to sundown. Their work day is a few hours in the morning, followed by a good lunch hour or hour and a half, and a few hours in the afternoon. Even then, their work isn't continuous. During the harvest you're watching here, they get a rest after each wagon is filled, unhitched, and a new wagon is attached. And the animals don't work like this every day. On average, I'm guessing, a draft animal is perhaps working 1 day per week throughout the year. It's much more of a problem for the farmer to underwork his animals than to overwork his animals. An unhealthy, overweight draft animal is much more susceptible to health problems than one that is kept in great shape. It's getting close to the lunch hour. Now, lunch hour begins at noon, but this is about 11:30 because he still has to unhitch the team, feed and water them, and get them ready for their lunch before he heads in for his. So you're watching here a harvest that began about 9:30 in the morning, and now it's 11:30. So those animals have worked 2 hours before their lunch break. While the horses are getting ready for their lunch break, let's go back to the mill and take a closer look. There's one more wagon that needs processing before these guys get going for their lunch. You'll notice a skid steer here is used to jockey this wagon into position. That's because it's just not practical for a team of horses to do this process. It's very difficult to back up something this heavy and to jockey it into the position that's needed. Inside the contained hammer mill's grinding chamber are ganged hammers, which are rectangular pieces of hardened steel, which are attached to a shaft. This shaft rotates at high speed, crushing and shattering the material between the hammers and the walls of the grinding chamber. When the material is pulverized enough to fit through the chamber's screen, it passes through and is blown into the silage bag. Anything that doesn't pass through remains to be further hammered until it too can be passed through. The hammer mill is right in there in that little chamber. You can see the black handles. That would open it up. But you wouldn't want to open it up when it was running. Now you're looking at the blower assembly. Now you're looking straight down and you can see the final product swirling around in there. This is right before it's blown into the silage bag. You can see how fine it is. It's like a cornmeal, but it's cob included. Here's a close-up look at some of the meal that's leaked out. I'm grabbing a handful here. It's really powdery, and believe it or not, that is 25% moisture level, but it feels dry. Now this is an inoculant. This helps the fermentation process begin inside the bag. This is added to the meal as it goes through the blower here. You can see a farmer here, he's dumping in some of that inoculant. It's mixed with water and he's dumping it into the big yellow tank here. There's a fine mist of that inoculant and it's blown onto the meal as it goes into the bag. Now this is the silage bag. That's where all that meal is stored. Inside that bag it's going to be fermenting. And it takes about 2 weeks for it to ferment to where you can feed it. A little longer than 2 weeks is even better. Now along the side of the bag you see these strips. And those strips will tell you if the bag is being stretched correctly as that meal is being forced in there under pressure. So you can see this strip is right at the OK mark. This strip is a little past the OK, but it's in the stop mark. It's still OK. And here you have one that's OK. If you stretch it too far, the bag can actually burst. The whole idea of these bags is to seal out any outside oxygen from getting into the meal. So a hole in the bag is no good. Instead of fermentation, you'll end up with rotting of the material. And rotting material can't be fed. The fermenting material is what you want. Here's the wheel on the mill blower combination. If you watch it carefully, you can see it actually moving forward. The tractor is in neutral. So as this meal is compressed into the bag, it forces everything in front of it to move forward. That includes the mill, the blower, and the tractor. So if the tractor had its brakes on, it couldn't move forward, and then the bag would expand too much and it would burst. If the tractor was moving too fast forward, you wouldn't be getting the benefits of filling the bag correctly. So it has to be watched carefully as the process goes on. This old Farmall 966 was manufactured probably in the early 70s. And this one came out of Estevan, Saskatchewan, Canada. You'll see many of these types of tractors on Amish farms. They're often used as a stationary source of power, like you see it being used here. Well, lunch is over. It's about 1:30. Lunch got over about 1. Took another half hour or so to get the team hitched back up, and we're heading back up into the field. I hope you'll stick around for the rest of the video. It was an absolutely gorgeous day for harvest. The sun was bright and the sky crystal clear blue. It made for some great shots. You'll see the fields being finished up, and you'll revisit the milling back down at the barnyard. Thanks so much for watching. Your time is greatly appreciated. Have a great day. Bye-bye.